Hello everyone, welcome back to Hero Wars Guide. We got a big game data update today. It's mostly concerning the new Heidi event, so I want to take a look at that as well as the game data itself. Okay, so we knew already that the event was coming one day after the end of Blackbeard's legacy. It looks like, unlike CyberCon, the Blackbeard shop will stick around for a day after the event ends. And the Heidi event is going to have some kind of shop as well. Those usually sit in the town square, so they probably wanted to avoid overlap there. They made some pretty substantial updates to the way that event data is structured. We'll get into that in a minute, but the first thing that you'll probably notice on this event is that it's kind of messed up. They put the kind of event tagline where the name usually goes. They omitted a number of the translations for the task names to something in English. In fact, the whole range of IDs that they provided were kind of messed up. This Afterlight actually belongs to a different event, and then the next 7 that they had in place for these following tasks were completely invalid. They don't match up with anything in the translations file. But for the most part, we can get a sense of what the tasks are going to be, if not the rewards and the task names. I'll walk through them because this is kind of an unfamiliar event type. We've got upgrading hero skin 100 times. That one's going to get extremely expensive. Oh, and before I get too far into this, with how messed up this event data is, I would not be too surprised if there ends up being some changes in here. Certainly, at least for the cosmetics, I'm sure there will be, and maybe to the construction of the tasks as well. But for now, this is what we've got. This is worded in a way that seems to suggest you have to make new upgrades to skins, but maybe it'll end up being having 100 levels total in Heidi's skins, in which case this might be really hard or really easy depending on how far you've developed Heidi already. But as worded, this seems to suggest that it'll be leveling up any hero's skins. Same idea here for the artifacts. Hopefully you have lots and lots of gray materials on hand. If you don't, stop spending them now so you can get some progress done on this task. Then we have evolution level for a hero. I maybe have some problems in my own code here translating this, or maybe it's messed up in the raw game data. I'm not sure, but in any case, I imagine this will end up being Heidi that needs to be evolved up to 4, 5, or 6 hero soul ranks. 6, of course, being absolute star. And with this rank task, 7 is purple, 11 is orange, and 16 is red. Then we're back to some traditional tasks here, getting VIP to 4,500. Well, to be clear, that's 4,500 new VIP points. Spending 60,000 emeralds and 15,000 energy. I think these may be copy-paste from the normal kind of weekday hero soulstone event. This one, I don't think I mentioned, I kind of skipped over this. They've not yet added a translation for this task type either, kind of like the names are missing for most of the rest. So behind the scenes, these task types have kind of a code name. This might be like update hero skin, all one word, and then they translate to something more readable in English. This one doesn't have a definition yet. So it's a bit of a mystery, but based on some of the things I've seen in the game data, I suspect this might be some kind of guild-wide activity related to this event. Alright, so let's take a look at why I think that, as well as anything else that is new in the game data. Alright, so here we are at what changed in the game data files. These first 3 are just entries about the event currency for the Heidi event. Looks like it's going to be called Emerald Coin. And then this here, we had this in the news a day or 2 ago that Brewstar and Rigel are being added to the light and dark soul boxes. So that'll be nice if you've held on to some of those boxes, as these are probably the most needed other than the Super Titans for most people. Then these next few entries were kind of funny. It looks like the support team of Nexters is apologizing for something. I'm not sure what it is yet. Or maybe they're just kind of putting their next several gifts in the bank for when something does mess up in the future, and they can just hand these out a little bit faster before they have to invent a new item. Or maybe there's 4 groups of players that they're different levels of sorry for. I don't know, remains to be seen. Then we've got some story text around this epic start. This thing continues to be a bit of a mystery to me, but I believe it relates to that mini game that has been slowly creeping into the game data. Maybe that is something that pops up for new players, but I really don't know how, if at all, that's visible in the game at this point in time. Then I believe everything else in here is going to be related to those things. Oh, you know what? I take that back. So I believe this pseudo desk description 38 and this idea here of pseudo event points. This, I believe, is the kind of currency that will build up as your guild continues to work on some kind of shared task within events. All right, and then lastly in this file, this thing here is part of what makes me think that it's a guild-wide event for this event point system. They're saying score points with your guild and get prizes. And then there's probably going to be some UI with multiple tabs for things you can buy, possibly with gifts going out to the rest of your guild, as well as quests and the shop related to the event. All right, then next file, we've got the inventory list here. This one, there's not a whole lot in here other than those nexters were sorry boxes, as mentioned earlier. And then there's this currency item for this point event. I'll skip over a few files because I don't think they have much interesting. This one controls the various mail items in the game, and there's not much to this other than this suggests to me that when this new type of point event ends, that you will get the rewards that are uncollected in your mail. It's a little early to know for sure, but that's what I take from this. Alright, and this one here is the special quest chain file. There's not a whole lot to this one other than it looks like they went back and updated every single set of tasks that has existed on any event to include this field called is infinite. So I don't know exactly where that will be used other than I can say it's going to be for future development only. Every single quest event here that is in the game data file has this value set to no. And that's what this 0 means. It would be a 1 if it meant true. Most of this file is just a billion of those things changing over time. But somewhere in here we are going to have entries for the new event. I guess this is probably kind of unintelligible here, but these entries here, these locale keys, are part of why the event data is so messed up. This 1829 belongs to some other event, I think maybe one of the Light Titan events. And then 1830 and the next several that are defined for the Heidi event tasks don't exist at all. So I think they just missed the correct number range. This probably should have been 2421 instead of 1830. But then there was a new block attached to the event itself somewhere in here.
Alright, this here is the entry for the event. For each event in the data, they added this new field called client data. It's null for every event in the history of the schedule here, but this Heidi event has it filled in. There's not a whole lot that I need to call out here, but it does have an entry for point event towards the bottom on the screen here, and you can kind of guess from some of this naming, like personal progress chain ID, referring back to one of the event chains, that it's going to track the amount of experience that you contribute towards the guild on an individual basis, but then there's some kind of communal reward that comes out of this thing as well. This tells us the event coin, and this points to that emerald coin that we saw earlier. So my best guess is that the guild task here is going to reward more of that same coin, but not 100% sure about that yet. Alright, and then lastly, I want to take a look at the shop. This is not my work. This has been floating around on Discords, but this, if I had to guess, I would say this is Load Runners. This looks kind of like his format, but it looks like this is what you're going to be able to buy out of that event shop. So I want to take a second to talk about my recommendations. The doll is a bit of an unknown. We don't know what will be contained within that, but usually they're not the best value, so I'm not expecting a whole lot out of that. Otherwise, I have 5 or maybe 4.5 top picks, and those are here, the Enigma's Chronicles at 5,000 event coin. This is worth 1,600 emeralds, and that makes the event coin worth 0.32, and that's the case for almost all of these items, at least the non-composite ones.
But Enigmas I call out because you need lots and lots of them for all of your healing and support and mage heroes. They're the most needed from the mission where you can possibly get them, and they cost 10 energy per raid at cheapest. All of those same factors are also true for this Aigrette of Nocturnal Cicadas, so that's another top pick. Lamort's card is always good. You will most likely need more of this than anything else in the game. The only slight downside to purchasing this is you can raid this at 8 energy per fragment, but I think it's still a top pick. But that theme brings me to the half of a point recommendation. The emerald value of this is the same, but you can get it at 6 energy per raid. If you're really light on these, then it may be worth grabbing a few. And then finally, there's the Skinstone chest. From a raw emerald value perspective, this is slightly less at about 0.29 per emerald coin, as opposed to the 0.32 that the items give. But if you're behind on skinstones relative to item fragments, then that can make this an attractive option anyway. Alright, so that's my thoughts on the shop, and I think I'll wrap it up there. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll see you again next time.